Nau mai, haere mai to this webinar on the science, innovation and technology reforms. Ko Jill Jolly toku ingoa. I'm Jill Jolly. I'm the MB Chief Science Advisor. And with me today, I've got Ian Cossar, who's the Programme Director for the Science System Reforms at MB, Sue Bidrose, who's the Chief Executive at Ag Research, and Shalida Percy, who's the Chief Executive at GNS, and they are the co-chairs of Science New Zealand. Go to the next slide, please. We'll start with the MB Karakia. Tawhia tō mana kia mau kia maia. Ka huri taku aru ki te pai kahurangi. Kei reira, te oranga moku, ka mamahi tahi, ka ora, ka puawai. A mato mahi katoa, ka pono, ka tika, tihei mauri ora. And in English, that means retain and hold fast to your mana. Be bold, be brave. We turn our attention to the future. That's where the opportunities lie. By working together, we will flourish and achieve greatness, taking responsibility to commit to doing things right. So thank you, everybody, for joining this webinar. We're looking forward today to explaining a little bit about what's going on in the system and looking forward to answering questions and through the last part of the webinar. The webinar will be started off by Ian, who will give a brief presentation about the reforms, and then Shalida and Sue will provide a brief presentation on the work that they've been doing. We'll be recording the webinar so that it can be viewed later online. And just in terms of housekeeping, you can see a Q&A button at the top. If you can put your questions in that section there, and we'll try and answer those towards the end of the webinar. Over to you, Ian.
Kia ora koutou, ko Ian Cossar, taku ingoa. Hi, I'm Ian Cossar. I'm the Program Director for the Science, Innovation, Technology Reforms. I'm usually a General Manager of Policy here at MB, but have been taken out of that role to oversee the full reform program, which I will talk you through a little bit today. If we start, I'd like to start on next slide, thanks. Where I'd like to start is what's great about our system as it stands. There is a lot of fantastic science going on in New Zealand right now, and I don't want to lose sight of that as we look at the changes we're about to make. What we're trying to do is to get even more from the system, which is already delivering well for New Zealand. So this is about growth and being better. It's not to say that there are massive issues or problems that we are desperately worried about, but there are things that we think we can do better. We just go to the next slide, please. The reforms are being driven from the ground up, by which I mean the leaders in the sector, the chairs, the chief executives of the various organisations have been deeply involved since the announcement in early January. And we have been working collaboratively to make these reforms as effective as possible. There's been an enormous amount of collaboration across the system to get to where we are today. And I want to thank them and all those who've contributed to date, that either by way of input into the SSAG reports or being on the Pan-CRO working groups, the task force MB has with Callaghan, or in some of the policy questions that we are working our way through. So I just want to thank everyone for their contribution today. Next slide, thanks. So notwithstanding the fantastic science that's already going on, there are some things that we think we can do better on. We don't think the system as a whole is particularly well set up to drive the economy forward and respond quickly to the opportunities that presents. Sorry, we just got a little bit of a sunlight issue. The way we invest in science isn't particularly well coordinated. It's not very strategic, and we spread those dollars thinly across the system. We don't drive a focused funding strategy across the multiple decision makers, and we don't make it easy to collaborate. And this results in sometimes ineffective competition for funding within the system. Those are actually system design issues. They're not a reflection of the people in the system, in my view. Next slide, thanks. So there are roughly 6 areas of reform that the system is focused on. just working through them. What we're trying to achieve through the Prime Minister's Science, Innovation, Technology Advisory Council is an ability to set priorities for the system. So that is for us to enable us to focus our funding on those things which we think are most important. That will mean that there are areas that we are going to have to deprioritise in order to do that. At the moment, we don't have a mechanism to set strategy or priority in the system. Second component is the amalgamation of CRIs and transitioning them to PROs. The intention here is to build institutions that are resilient and of scale, that are adaptable and can flex and change as priorities change. We also want, the Crown wants as shareholder to be a bit closer to some of the decision making that goes on in these PROs. Advanced tech is a feature of the system we do clearly underinvest in, and the government is committed to making more investments into advanced technology. And I'll talk a little bit about that in a moment. I anticipate there will be changes to the way we fund activity in the system. I'm struggling with that light. Hopefully you can see me better now. Those decisions have yet to be taken, but we will keep you abreast of those as they are developed and informed as decisions go through the process. I'd imagine towards the end of the year, early next year. Government's identified intellectual property settings as a key feature of the system, and by which I mean both across universities and CRIs. The intention is for scientists to benefit further from the intellectual property they generate. These are deeply difficult questions to resolve, and how to go about doing that best that meets all the interests in the sector. And we'll be working through over the coming months some policy settings on intellectual property and indeed commercialisation. Finally, I want to acknowledge that the reforms are disestablishing Callaghan Innovation, and some functions are transferring both to MB and to what will be PROs. I acknowledge that these changes are very difficult for some, particularly those functions which are not transferring and will cease at the end of the year, or at the end of the financial year, 30 June or 30 September in particular. We go to the next slide. So this is the prime mover in the system. This is the mechanism by which we can set priorities, we can deprioritise, and we can identify opportunities for commercialisation. You will have seen, hopefully, the announcements recently with the appointment of the first council. And I do believe that we are intending to appoint someone with some AI expertise at some point as well. As I said earlier, at the moment we can't set priorities in the system, or it's very difficult to do so. This is the mechanism by which we hope to achieve that. And we hope to have that up and running in the next few weeks to inform some priorities by the end of the year. Next slide, thanks. Advanced tech. It is an area where we compare ourselves to the OECD. We do underinvest. The government is committed to increasing investment into advanced technology. We will be setting up an advanced technology PRO. In the interim, you may have seen the announcement recently of the investment into Robinson Institute of about $71 million. This is the first step along the way to an advanced tech PRO. Thank you. As I mentioned, Callaghan Innovation is being disestablished, and the leadership team are working through that process at the moment. Functions do cease on June 25. And remaining functions will transfer either to MB or the PROs no later than 30 June 2026. MB, the CRIs and Callaghan have been working collectively and very closely together to achieve those transfers, and we will keep you informed as to their progress. Next slide. We are really having trouble with the lighting. Hopefully you've just heard from your chief executives. The merger date has been brought forward to 1 July 2025. This was on response to a desire from the government to move as quickly as possible, but also feedback from the sector, and indeed maybe from some of yourselves, that we wanted to move as quickly as possible. The chairs and CEs and their working groups have responded very, very quickly, and you will have seen the announcements of the new Institute for Bioeconomy Science, Institute for Earth Science, and New Zealand Institute for Public Health and Forensic Science. Just want to take a moment here to thank the boards the CEs, and all those who are involved in the working groups and the transition governance planning. They've done an enormous amount of work to get us to this point, that we are confident that we can get initial mergers under the Crown Companies Act, Crown Research Institutes Act by 1 July 2025. Next slide. This is a bit of an overview of the program as a whole. It's being recorded, so I won't talk through it, but it is being phased. I think for those in the CRIs, the important thing to note is that the merger will be in a few weeks' time under the existing legislation, and then enabling legislation will come through sometime next year that will convert CRIs into PROs. And one of those features will be that the Crown will be a little bit more involved and engaged on what CRIs do and where they deploy, in particular, their capital. We are seeking a much more collaborative system. You'll see work on intellectual property there, the Callahan establishment, and the establishment of the ATRO sometime next year. Thank you. That's a brief overview of the reforms. I hope that's useful. I'm going to hand over to Sue Bidrose, I think, and then we'll talk with Shalidra, and then we can open it up for some Q&A. Kia ora. You're on mute.
Thank you very much. Thanks, Ian. Thanks for that presentation. I'm the Chief Executive at Ag Research and one of the two co-chairs of Science New Zealand. Just want to say on behalf of the CEs, thanks. It's been a pleasure working with you, Ian. And for those staff who don't get to interact with you on a daily basis, Ian has worked very hard to put actually the needs and the views of the science that we can carry out at the heart of these reforms, and has also worked quite hard to build much improved trust between the CRIs and MB. And I want to thank you for that. It's had its moments, that's for sure, because, you know, these sort of changes are trying times, but you've been very impressive. So it's been lovely working with you. I've enjoyed it. My job now to update everybody on what's happening in the New Zealand Institute for Bioeconomy Science. So that CRI, initially a CRI and eventually a PRO, is the amalgamation of Ag Research, Scion, Manaaki Whenua Landcare and Plant and Food. And as of July the 1st, as you've heard, we've ended up with an excellent board that we, I think generally a lot of very good feedback about the confidence that we have in our board having a very good understanding of our work and the part we play in the New Zealand economy and in our sector. And similarly, PIMSTAC, the Prime Minister's Science Advisory Council, we're also very pleased with the expertise that brings to the table, both forward-looking to potential areas of science investment, but also a really good understanding of our current economy and why we invest in the science we do. And I think the general feedback that I've been getting has been that, you know, people are pretty happy about how that has unfolded. With regard to our new CRI/PRO, our job now is to design it so that it has both the short-term needs, the political imperatives, but also the long-term vision of what science can deliver in our minds. And so as we begin that work on day one, what will happen is that the 4 existing CRIs will transfer, it's effectively a lift and shift. We will transfer in as 4 divisions of the Bioeconomy Institute. So the Ag Division, the Hort Division, these aren't their names, but the Ag Division, the Hort Division, the Environment Division, and the Forestry Division. There'll be 4 divisional chief executives, so I'll be the chief executive of the Ag Division, and there'll be 4 leadership teams, and then we will be working collaboratively with the chief executive to flesh out the operating model of the new agency, and what that means for things like structure and how the company, how the back office, the science support functions come together, and also how we best structure science to really take advantage of the change. I mean, I think it's really important that you bear in mind the scale of this new institute. So approaching $600 million a year, that means that business as usual continues to be incredibly important as we put the new institute in place, because we are tasked with bringing in $11 or $12 million a week of science, of doing $11 or $12 million a week worth of science, and of bringing in from government and from private partners, private sector investors, private stakeholders, commercial stakeholders, of bringing in $11 or $12 million a week in order to fund the agency and that science that we have to deliver. And that is massive. The scale of that really does put us on the map at world-class kind of size and scale. And then the key for the new organisation is really how do you capitalise on that. So the new organisation, clearly there's been a much greater focus on impact and on delivering for stakeholders, including government. So those stakeholder relationships are going to become even more critical for us, from design right through to delivery of the science, but also tracking the impact that it has, so that ROI for a sense of the ROI on our science, on government science investment and on private sector science investment, that we kind of know what that looks like. There'll be a continued and, in fact, I think, strength and focus on doing great science, world-renowned science, and science that makes a difference, certainly at a national level. But I think the scale-up creates different opportunities at an international level as well, with partnerships combining our skills and knowledge with partnerships overseas, and with tech solutions that come out of international jurisdictions to work with us to provide benefits for New Zealand, both for public benefit for New Zealand, but also for New Zealand companies in our sector. And of course, the trick is that despite being bigger, we're also required to be more nimble and more agile, more adaptable, to have flexible business models as we balance public good with commercial and commercialisation. These are interesting things for us to balance, but we know that this change in focus is where a lot of the gains will be made. That, and seizing the opportunity to allow our scientists to break down some of the bureaucratic barriers to working together, so that you can more easily link up with colleagues who spur you to have new ideas and you spur them to have new ideas. So finally, I agree with Ian's basic summary that the key thing we bring, it is a truism that the only really great resource we have as an agency is you, our people, and great people doing great science. And often, as we see, award-winning science that is recognised by a lot of our peers in New Zealand and around the world, and really valued by our sector, making sure that that is the heart of what we do. But the economic reality is, of course, that there is not great big wadges of new money coming out of government at this point in the economic cycle. And so we will be needing to keep making tough decisions around science priorities. And thankfully, that is what PIMSTAC is there in order to provide that kind of guidance. So tough decisions that the most important science can get prioritised, at doing the best science that we can with clarity right through to impact. That's our key role, so that New Zealanders can see the difference we make. And I think there's understandably quite a sense of excitement about what this might mean for us. Certainly I hear it a lot, and that we're looking forward to actually getting underway.
Thank you, Sue. That's fantastic. A great overview of the new Bioeconomy Institute. So over now to Shalidra, who's the Chief Executive of GNS Science.
Thanks, Jill, and excuse me, kia ora koutou, everyone. I'd like to echo Sue's thanks to Ian, and also to Ian's team at MD, who have done a fabulous job in supporting all of us as we've kind of managed our way through the reforms to date. As Sue has just outlined, a lot of what she's covered is really very the same or very similar for the New Zealand Institute of Earth Science. So what I'm going to focus on is kind of more about what the Earth Science Institute will do. And I'll start by saying that I'm really excited about the creation of the New Zealand Institute of Earth Science, because I believe it will bring some fantastic changes to how we approach earth science research here in New Zealand. The Earth Science Institute has been formed by merging GNS Science and NIWA. It will include Met Service, which is being acquired by NIWA, initially as a wholly owned subsidiary, and we're also bringing the Measurement Standards Laboratory across from Callaghan Innovation. So we're looking at sort of about 1,570 staff across 34 locations, and sort of annual revenues at day one of about 317 million. And, you know, but like Sue said, for us, that's $7 to $8 million per week of research delivery. But the merger isn't really just about pooling resources. It's about creating a globally significant research organisation that can tackle New Zealand's unique earth science challenges and opportunities with a fresh, innovative approach. So the merger will create a larger and more capable organisation that can apply a range of disciplines and technologies to deliver value for New Zealand. And one of the cool things about this merger is its potential to boost the New Zealand economy. By using our natural resources wisely, the Earth Science Institute will support energy security and sustainability. It will also support the development of land, marine and mineral resources. This means ultimately more jobs, new business opportunities, and a stronger economy for everyone. The Institute will also focus on sustainable development, ensuring that we manage our marine, freshwater, energy, and mineral resources wisely. So this balanced approach will help us protect ecosystems and biodiversity while still supporting economic growth. For instance, our robust science-based quotas and ecosystem management will ensure our oceans continue to provide economic value for generations. In a world where natural hazards and the impacts of climate change are becoming more common, the Earth Science Institute will help us become more resilient. By combining expertise in geological, weather and climate hazards, we can better predict and reduce the impact of these events, increasing resilience while protecting lives, property and the environment. For example, the development of a national flood forecasting system and high-resolution coastal inundation models will help protect communities from flooding. But wait, there's more. The Institute's research on freshwater systems and sustainable water management will support the health of our water resources and ecosystems, enabling water-impacted sectors to thrive. It will support the growth of New Zealand's renewable energy sector, including geothermal, wind, solar, and marine energy. And this will help New Zealand achieve its clean energy ambitions and reduce its carbon footprint. And of course, as sort of Sue touched on, by merging these organisations, we'll improve operational efficiency through shared resources and streamlined processes. And that means more effective use of our research capabilities and better service delivery to our clients and stakeholders. The Earth Sciences Institute will work closely with the other PROs, the universities, as well as national and international science partners to maximise the impact of our research and avoid unnecessary duplication. The Institute will provide a platform for joint research initiatives and interdisciplinary projects. It will enable the shared use of major facilities such as supercomputers and isotope measurement labs, just by way of example. And I think the thing that excites me the most is how the Earth Science Institute will bring together some of the brightest minds in the science sector. Sorry, bioeconomy, we've got them all. Our researchers are passionate about their work and committed to making a difference. This merger will enable them to collaborate more effectively, share knowledge, and push the boundaries of what is possible in earth sciences. The breadth and scale of the organisation, plus its international connections, will provide great career opportunities for our scientists and all of our people working in the enabling services part of the organisation. There will be challenges. A merger of this scale will take time and there will be bumps along the road. It's not going to happen overnight. And we also have to recognise, as Sue's already talked about, that the science system has limited funding and difficult decisions must be made about how to best deploy it. So the best thing we can do in the meantime is be the best scientists we can be. By focusing on excellence and innovation, we can make the most of the resources available and deliver impactful research that benefits society. And by sharing this with our clients and stakeholders, including the public, we can demonstrate how science is a crucial component of New Zealand's future. And through that, by building trust and showing the value of our work, we can inspire the next generation of scientists and ensure continued support for our research. And finally, in my opinion, the creation of the Earth Science Institute is a positive step forward. It promises to drive economic growth, enhance resilience, promote sustainable development, and position us as a global leader in earth science research. So I'm genuinely excited about the positive impact this will have on our science system, the country, and the world. So back to you, Jill.
Thank you, Shalidra. That's a great summary. Yes, and a lot of excitement about the new future. Thank you again to our three presenters, to Ian, to Shalidra and Sue. I think we had well over 1,000 people online at one point. So yeah, thank you to everybody else for tuning in. I hope you found that useful, and we'll try and do this again in the future, I hope. So I think that's how we finish, and I'll finish with the MB closing karakia. Kahiki te tapu, kia watia ai te ara, kia turuki ai te ao marama, huye taikie. That means restrictions are moved aside so the pathway is clear to return to everyday activities enriched and unified. Thank you once again. Ka kite.